All right, let's try that again. I'm back live now. And yeah, I think I fixed that. I must have selected it was good for children. Okay, I am back live with comments. Okay, there we go. All right, hello. Can you hear me okay? Whoever that is. I think we're getting people back in here. Sorry about that, you guys. I must have accidentally selected it was good for kids. I didn't mean to do that. I don't think I'm appropriate most of the time for children. Hey, Dexy lady. I must have accidentally clicked that. Now I can see your guys' chat, and that is helpful. So sorry about the delay there. Let's wait for some people to get back on. I think we had about 20 viewers there. So hopefully we get these people back and we'll get started talking about things. Yeah, I know. Thanks, man. King of Crypto, the famous camel seller, is letting me know that I messed that up. So I apologize for that. Okay. Hey, Jimmy. Good to see you guys coming back in here. So yeah. Okay. So we'll wait for some more people to get back in. I can see you guys' comments. Good morning from Florida. Hello. I was in Florida in June, and with my kids on a summer vacation, and it was like incredibly pleasant for Florida in June. Actually, I think it was July now that I think about it. Yeah, normally it's like ungodly hot, but it was actually very nice while we were there. So, okay. Solid here. Cool. All right. So let's wait for some more people to get on. We're going to talk about Dexy Hunter, DexiZones, DexyGov, and the DexiDAO. And I'm going to try to make this relatively brief so that people can get back to their Saturday or their Saturday evening in other parts of the world. It's quite gloomy here in Ohio today, although it seems like maybe the weather is breaking up a little bit. So that's good, but it's definitely fall has set in for sure. And yes, our Portuguese chat. Hello. Yeah. There's Eris and Broxy. Hello, Joy. Danny's there. All right, so we've got some people here. We'll wait another minute or two, and I'll get started. Very exciting times here for Dexio Protocol. We're enjoying this space that we're in, the place that we're in right now, very much. Hey, Robin, how are you? Don, the man, the myth, the legend. Nolly's here. I see Pat's here also. Okay, so if I didn't see you or catch you, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to talk, and it's very easy for me to talk. Just ask Don and Andrea. It's hard for me to talk and read the chat at the same time, so I have to just kind of ignore that while I'm talking. And then if you guys have any questions, things that I can answer that I don't answer in the live stream itself, please send those up to Andrea, and she will or send them in the chat, and Don or Andrea will get those over to me via Telegram. So please do not send me directly questions via Telegram, because I probably won't read your message on Telegram if you're not Don or Andrea or Broxy or somebody on my team until after the live stream's over. So, okay. All right. So let's talk about Dexy Hunter. So as you guys know, Dexy Hunter is our flagship augmented reality application that we've been working on for 16 months. It's been through actually 3 very different versions. And we finally got it in a place where we were ready to release it to the public in this full public beta format. And as you guys know, we made it available to download through Test Flight on the App Store and through the Google Play Store beta function last week. So to give you some update on that, we've had a couple of thousand downloads. It's been very cool I don't know where we're at right now, but it's been very cool to see. There's actually a way for us on Test Flight anyways, there's a way for us to see the downloads. And of course there was all like internal beta downloads, and then like all of a sudden it just like spiked like crazy. Even Jamil Qureshi, our lead augmented reality developer, was just like, it was really crazy to see that happen. So that's been really cool, been tons of downloads. And as you guys know, we ran into some issues with the way that the admin panel was tracking user reports. So I don't want to get super technical here, and it's not, I don't think worthwhile for people to totally understand this, but obviously there's data that is being tracked, right, from the users, and that comes back to what we call the admin panel. This is a pretty standard function in any kind of application. So all of the information from you as a user that you're interacting with the augmented reality bounties out in the real world is all being tracked against your user profile, against your Dexy Connect user login. There's information that we've tied to that through your Dexy wallet, through the Dexy wallet user connect that we've provided for people. All this information is being tracked, and then there's data and reports being pulled. We are tracking exactly where the bounties are dropped and whether or not they have been collected, and then whether or not they have been redeemed, who they've obviously been redeemed by. There's a huge amount of information that we're tracking for very specific reasons, not just arbitrarily, in order to provide the best user experience for our hunters, but also in order to facilitate a business model for our business partners who we do already have a nice group on board in a couple of cities, and we're going to run out the beta of the business voucher program in Amsterdam here in the next couple of weeks. So, but as you know, we ran into some issues with the way that that data was coming back to us, and we were fearful that it was going to cause some problems with us being able to actually monitor and distribute the crypto and NFT rewards based on the reward redemptions. So we did not drop the bounties on Monday, and instead we ended up dropping most of them that we have dropped on Thursday and then yesterday. And then we ran into another problem, which is that the admin panel itself is designed to track all of the data simultaneously. And that was an oversight, I think, somewhat on our part. And it became extremely cumbersome for us to do bulk drops. Why? Because there were hundreds of thousands of bounties being tracked by their location, latitude, longitude, location, what kind of bounties they were being tracked against users who were collected. And then there was a huge amount of data coming in, and the system sort of got overwhelmed from the point of view of us being able to add to that. And then we tried to make a quick fix update to it, and it kind of broke something else. So again, I'm not going to get into details about this, but we are working on that solution. We know exactly what we need to do to fix it. We are setting up the process to be able to fix that, and we will fix that. There is I think, reasonable probability that we will have to delete all of the existing bounties that are out there and start over again, but that's okay. We can do that, and with this new system, it will make it a lot easier for us to be able to do that in an efficient way. So I do apologize. Again, this is why we have beta tests, right? There's also some issues with, there's some kind of cross-referencing happening with the way that the bounties are dropping. And so in some instances, when people are trying to collect, in particular Dexy Cash, the backend system doesn't know what to do with the data because it's getting mixed up basically. So it's freezing up people's app as they're collecting that data because it doesn't know what to do next. So it's just getting stuck in an infinite loop because it doesn't know where to send that data to. So that's another problem. But anyways, these are all things that we have solutions for and we will fix. That's why we have a beta. I do want to point out that nothing like this has ever been done before. I know, people are like Pokemon Go for crypto or whatever, and there's actually there are a couple of projects that have done something that is, certainly noteworthy in terms of geolocation and some similar things, but no one has even come close to building something like what we've built. So there's no roadmap for us on this. There's no this is what we do next. We're flying blindly in many cases and trying to figure out how to make these things work in this kind of grand process. So this particular problem with the admin panel loading is something that I suppose we could have figured out if we would have done a couple of things differently in the testing process, but anyways, we didn't. So it was an oversight, and so now we're trying to get that worked out. So but again, thousands of downloads, lots of people out there hunting. There was some troll in the chat. It was like, why aren't there more social media posts being posted? I mean, like, my social media is full of people posting stuff, so I don't know what is this person's looking at. But okay, so we're going to get more bounties dropped. We also, there's some stages here in what we're doing, okay? And this is the public beta, right? So we did what's called an alpha phase, which is an internal thing that basically was just Don and I constantly testing stuff. Then we did an internal phase 1 beta, an internal phase 2 beta, and now we're in phase 1 public beta. We're going to push into a phase 2 public beta, and then we're going to push into the live app, right? So, and that's going to be app on the App Store, app on the Play Store, with in-app purchases and all those things in them. And we've been in communication with Apple, actually directly speaking to them about how we're going to set that up for iOS, and Play Store is actually quite a bit easier to deal with. But so that we're going to keep rolling this out in stages. One of the things that people are often saying to me in DMs and in the chat, and when marketing. We're not over marketing the Hunter launch because we don't want to, because we know that there's going to be problems. If we would have had like some massive marketing campaign and then had this giant hiccup, with 100,000 users, that would have been a different problem. So the path here is one of steps. We have to take the right steps to make sure that this is successful. So we certainly are going to have a much more aggressive marketing campaign related to Dexy Hunter when the actual live app is available. So please be patient about that. All the people are like, when are you dropping in this city? When are you dropping in that city? We're probably not dropping any more bounties until Tuesday or maybe even Wednesday of next week. So it might happen sooner than that. It sort of somewhat depends on the lead developer who works on our admin panel. But he also has to sleep and eat and have a life, and so we're not killing him. But in any event, he's going to work on this stuff some more on Monday, and we're going to implement the solutions that we've already figured out. So we will get more bounties dropped, and when we do, it'll probably go a lot faster because we won't have this what's called a pagination problem. So okay, so Dexy Hunter, it's going really well. People are really excited. It's super fun to see. We are also going to produce tutorial videos about how to play the game, if you want to call it a game, or how to best enjoy the experience. But we are not producing those videos yet, not because we're not going to do it or because we are lazy or something, but because there may be changes to some things as we roll through this beta process. We're going to continue to take feedback from this wide audience that we have that have downloaded the application and are currently using it, and we're going to make adjustments, and those adjustments may affect the content of those videos. So we're not producing any videos until we are sure that we are rolling out the version of the application with the particular functionality in place that would then get into that tutorial video. So we will produce videos for that. And probably will be me producing videos, honestly, which is fine. And we'll educate people on how to best enjoy that Dexy Hunter experience. So we're getting there. It's just going to take some time. Those of you that are in the Telegram chat would know that I posted that Don and I's DMs have become very strange and exciting. So we're getting a lot of messages from people who are very interested in the project, very interested in the Dexio Protocol Corporation, in investing equity, doing equity investments in the corporation. A CEO from a major exchange wants to talk to us about some kind of exclusivity as it relates to Dexy Hunter in particular regions. So we're talking to the current exchanges that we have. Excuse me. Change in season always kind of gets me, but we're talking to the existing exchanges that we have relationships with about potentially having some integrated partnerships in terms of Dexy Hunter with them, in particular LBank, and I'll talk about that really quickly, briefly. But so there's a lot of exciting things that are happening, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we kind of figure out these steps, right? These stages. Let me briefly touch on LBank. LBank is a great partner for us. We have really enjoyed our relationship with them. They're always very communicative and they're always very helpful. And they, basically said, hey, look, these people are not withdrawing their Dexy V1 and their DXG to non-custodial hot wallets and swapping them on your migration swap. Do you want to just have us do that for you? And we said, fine. And so we had them do that for us. So if you had Dexy or V1 or DXG on LBank, you would have gotten a notification that you had a deposit of Dexy, which was actually Dexy V2, They swapped that out at the conversion rates that we gave them, which was the live price at the time that that conversion rate was done, just like the migration swap would have been. And so that's done. And MEXC is also going to do a live drop of everyone's Dexy V2 from the remaining MEXC Dexy V1 that was on that exchange. And we're still communicating with Digi about the remaining Dexy V1 that is on the DigiFinex exchange also. So all of that is also happening, and we're making the transition over to V2. Let me touch on staking and farming really quick, because that's also a hot topic. So we will have a single staking contract that is Dexy for Dexy, that will have different varying APR rates depending on the lock cycle that you go into. This is pretty standard stuff that we're going to run through the staking contract that we have developed and have had for a long time, but just haven't done anything with yet. We are also working on a very interesting hybrid single staking model, allowing people to use USDC to earn Dexy that we are then going to add to liquidity. So it's kind of like an LP farm, but it is actually a single staking contract, not an LP ad, that the guys from Scrub Money have developed for us. And we just have to build the DApp on our side. We're finished building the DApp on our side so that we can implement that too. So you'll be able to stake USDC and earn Dexy, and that will be added to liquidity. So kind of a hybrid LP farming type mechanism. And we'll have different locking cycles with different APR rates for that too. We are also working with Elk Finance, and they're one of their developers, on a direct LP ad that will allow us to continue to have the taxes in place, which cause a problem for LP ads, and sort of reimburse people on the back end as they withdraw their LP farming contributions, because the taxes will have already come out of them. So again, I don't want to get in the weeds and talking about this, but all of that stuff is coming probably next week. We have to go through some audits, and we have to audit the DApp and get all the other stuff done for security with the DApp beyond auditing, but the security functions for the portal itself. So we're working on all of that, and that's coming very soon. We know that liquidity is an issue. For those of you, again, that have been in the chat, you would know that I have already told everybody that, we did keep USDC in reserve from the pre-sale. There was always supposed to be a 55-45 split between adding to liquidity and operations in the pre-sale. I did keep that 45% sort of on hand, and I am using it to add back into liquidity as people are selling, and those sell taxes are going into the contract address. We then add USDC to that, and we add it to the LP. So we're strengthening the LP, as a result of people selling using their Dexy that was taken in the sell tax to add back to liquidity with the USDC that we kept on reserve. So that was a strategic thing that Don and I did on purpose, and it seems to be actually working out. So okay, and then finally, the DexiGov, DexiDAO document I've put out there. So I noticed that already my viewer count has gone down because I stopped talking about Dexy Hunter. I think that's kind of amazing. But in any event, I put out the doc for DexiGov and DexiDAO. We are doing a private sale of DexiGov and a pre-sale of DexiGov. There is not going to be any soft cap for the pre-sale of DexiGov. We're just going to do a launch pad with no soft cap once we do that. And then we are going to launch DexiGov and the DexiDAO simultaneously. What is that? DexiGov is a token that will be paired with Dexy and USDC, much in the same way that Dexy is currently paired with ELK and USDC. And it will be tradable. What is the purpose of DexiGov? DexiGov is a governance token designed to allow the holders of DexiGov to vote in a 1-to-1 vote, one DexiGov equals one vote, on matters related to the DexiDAO. What is the DexiDAO? A DAO, DAO, is a decentralized autonomous organization. It is a way to democratize some of the functionality in the crypto blockchain space through the use of a smart contract and voting. So why are we doing that? We're doing that because there is this thing called DexiZones, which I will talk about, I guess, a little bit too. And those DexiZones have to be operated from a democratized, non-centralized point of view, not operated, but anyways, developed and distributed to avoid any confusion about whether or not it is a security, meaning whether or not it is rights of ownership, because it's not rights of ownership in anything other than the NFT that represents the geofenced location, the geofenced area, which is the Dexy zone. So DexiGov is going to be a Polygon token, again, paired with Dexy, tradable for Dexy and USDC. We'll have 2 liquidity pools, just like Dexy does. And your DexiGov will allow you to vote on matters related to the DexiDAO, which I did list 7 things that we plan on charging the DexiDAO with. But there is still some development in terms of our understanding of what we want that to do. And so we will continue to evolve that concept as we get closer to actually launching the DexiDAO. So the private sale of DexiGov will happen for probably about 2 weeks. It kind of depends. And then we'll go into the public pre-sale maybe a week after that. That'll last for probably 7 days, I'm guessing. And then we'll launch the token live and probably on Elk Finance and maybe also on Dexy Swap. And we will launch the DexiDAO. So in that document that I produced and put in the Telegram chat and probably was circulated after that, it's very clear what the distribution of that token is. There's going to be 5 million is the initial total supply, with a max supply of 25 million. We'll be able to mint 10% annually, just like we can with Dexy currently, up to 25 million tokens. And this is a pretty standard thing for tokens. It's, we're not Bitcoin. It's not something that's designed to trade for goods and services. It's designed to be a vehicle by which a protocol is able to interact and operate, right? So and the distribution of that is very clear. So the purpose of it is, again, to democratize the processes, in particular as they relate to DexiZones, but also the board of directors seats and leadership, as well as certain major Dexio protocol ecosystem decisions like centralized exchange listings and other things. So all of that will be implemented in a charter. That charter is what we call the DexiDAO charter, and it will make very clear what the DexiDAO is responsible for. And that will come out too. But again, there's the 7 things that I listed in that initial document that I provided for the pre-sale and private sale does very clearly indicate what at least our initial implementation of the DexiDAO charge will be. So, okay, I think I covered everything. And there's probably questions about migration here. Okay, so I'm going to start taking some questions from a huge number of Telegram messages all of a sudden. Okay, so Andrea, I'll let you send me these things. Lots of people are asking, where do you drop in my country? When it is coming to XYZ? Oh, I'm not sure how many times I have to say this. We are dropping bounties is not something that can be done automatically, and it is not something that is done very simply or easily. It is going to take time to cross the globe. We did start to do that and then realized that there was a loading problem with how many bounties we had that the basically browser was having to access through the admin panel. So we are making changes to update that to allow that process to be more efficient and seamless. And when we update that process, we will begin dropping bounties again, and we will get to the your country and your city. They will get there. Okay, so please just be mindful. Can you elaborate about the financing of the dropped bounties, e.g., partners as rewards? How get they financed? So this question is about elaborating on how we're financing the drops. So there is something called reward redemptions. Okay, those reward redemptions cost money. You have to buy them, and you have to use those reward redemptions in order to redeem individual blockchain bounties. So that means any type of crypto, any partner crypto or Dexy or any other crypto we put in the application, or any NFT that people are redeeming and having sent to them, they have to use those reward redemptions. That's the primary way that this is financed. It's financed through the users. So we also are, if you read the white paper, have a roadmap to having businesses drop their coupons, vouchers as bounties in the augmented reality experience, allowing for people to redeem those in those individual business locations or online or however they want to do that. And the businesses that are partnering with us on that are going to be paying for that privilege. So that's another way that we're generating revenue in order to support the bounty system. And of course, the system is in part being supported by NFTs that the project is minting. And so that is another revenue stream, so to speak. Also, the Apple App Store, and so the Google Play Store will also get this, is requiring that we actually sell NFTs in the in-app purchase process because we're selling them somewhere else and we use in-app purchases. This means that we will sell NFTs for fiat on the App Store that are used in Dexy Hunter, but also the other games, including Dexy Dragon. So all of the NFTs that people are able to use in those applications will be for sale as in-app purchases in the App Store and Play Store. So the other means by which we are generating revenue from the and supporting the business, but also supporting the bounty system is obviously we have partner projects. Those partner projects are supplying us with their tokens in order to drop those bounties. And of course, people are using their reward redemptions, which they've used for money, to be able to redeem those. So that has a net profit for us too. But it's beneficial to the project, obviously, also. And then there's also the opportunity that we have to develop relationships for advertising space in augmented reality for any business that wants to advertise anywhere in the world in augmented reality via banners or pop-ups or NPC characters or whatever they want. So we haven't implemented that yet because we're in the beta process, but we do have some interested parties already. It's very exciting. And Don and I have a new partner, was an old friend of his that is working very hard on some business development solutions for that. So it's very exciting. Okay, so that answers that question. Would it be a good idea to freeze the Dexy Gov of us who buy in the private sale for a few months or a year to be secure of paper hands? No, I don't believe in holding people's assets, and neither does Don. When we do OTC deals with people that exceed a certain dollar value, which I'm not going to discuss here because you guys don't all have non-disclosure agreements signed, but when an OTC deal exceeds a certain dollar value, we require that the purchaser of that in that OTC deal enters into a vesting schedule. Why do we do that? Because we didn't do that before, and it bit us in the booty. I didn't swear. It is kid friendly. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so we have a vesting schedule for anything that exceeds a certain dollar value. But other than that, we don't hold people's assets. Crypto is a commodity, and a commodity is something that an individual who is purchasing it should be free to sell whenever they want to. We have the responsibility to make sure that we are creating an opportunity for people that that when they're holding the asset, it benefits them more than selling it. That's our responsibility, not to create vesting schedules or holding schedules. What happens when you do that, when you create vesting schedules, because those become public, right, is that everybody watches the vesting schedules and dumps before major investments become open to the person who is holding that. So you create this kind of vicious cycle, which can clearly be seen in many projects that use these vesting schedule cycles like X. So, it doesn't work. You can't hold people's assets, and it just doesn't work. That's not a good way to do things. So no, I'm not going to freeze people's assets. People will want to have Dexy Gov because they're going to want to participate in governance. And by the way, one thing I didn't mention is if you're going to be a DexiZone NFT owner and you want to become an operator, you have to be a DexiDAO member, which means that you have to own Dexy Gov. And you have to stake 20,000 Dexy minimum per DexiZone that you operate. So there's a lot of reasons for people to hold in that scenario, and to be involved in that process. So, okay. I know you were super busy with Hunter, but will it delay Dragon's beta? I've never made an announcement about Dragon's beta and a time schedule on purpose. We are in internal testing still of Dragons. It's a complex application. We're trying to make it as fun as we possibly can, especially because that particular market is very competitive, and we will put that out for public beta when it's ready. And that's all I'm going to say about that. When it's time to vote with DexiGov, do you sell these tokens, or you still get to hold them for future votes? No. So the way it works is your holdings indicate your vote level. You will connect to a DApp that then basically checks the contents of your wallet and allows you to vote on matters, yay or nay, on the basis of your holdings, right? So it doesn't take your tokens. It checks the contents of your wallet and allows you to vote. Okay, so I'm not sure if there's any other questions. It seems like maybe there's not. Looks like Murray Lowe's in there talking about Dexy Nights. Yeah, you guys, Dexy Nights is running. It's a super awesome game. You guys, it's PvE, PvP. It's very cool. You guys should get in there and download that on itch.io and get to battling with people. The other thing is the NFT side is up, and we ran into some challenges with the migration function of the new NFT Emporium. And then we have limited it to migrating one NFT at a time. This is not actually really an issue for most people, because most people don't have that many NFTs. But those of you that do, I'm sorry, you have to migrate one at a time. And we'll continue to improve the user experience of that site too through feedback. So please, continue to give us feedback. And thank you to Warvet Derek, who has been, nothing but an amazing advocate for that whole project and that community, and all the creators and NFT holders. Okay. Is it possible in the future Hunter can be connected, operated in Android Auto or Apple CarPlay? No. I guess I don't know the answer to that. I think what you're asking is whether or not people can hook their Dexy Hunter up to their CarPlay and drive around and hunt bounties. I'm not sure that you have really thought through how unbelievably dangerous that would be. And yeah, no, if I can prevent that from happening, I'm going to. What would be the main benefits of holding the governance token? Because surely the team will always guide Dexy in the right place. Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm not sure if that was facetious or sarcasm, but so the purpose of holding the governance token is it gives you, the holder of the governance token, direct voting power in the aspects of the Dexio protocol ecosystem that the DexiDAO has charge of. And those will be things like leadership, board seats on Dexio Protocol Incorporated, which currently the only 2 board members are Don and I, but that will change very rapidly here very soon. And things related to especially the DexiZones and the creation of those zones, the auction of those zones, the use of the funds that are generated from the auction of those zones, and the membership in the DexiZone operator pool. So those are pretty important things if you want to be involved in the business of the DexiZones and of Dexy Hunter. And if you want to be able to voice your opinion in a very beyond just posting in a Telegram chat or a Twitter post or something, or direct messaging me, you actually get to have a say in what happens by voting. And your say is important because though Don and I have equal shares, and the board itself will have a portion of the DexiGov holdings that will vote with the board, we have to get people on board with whatever we're doing in order to get the DexiDAO to vote in the direction that we want it to. So if Don and I don't agree, or we don't, if the board has more members and it doesn't agree with us, it's definitely going to create some, that it's democratizing it. So your vote will matter in those instances. If Don and I agree and the board also agrees, and we get a few other people to agree with us, it's that's probably going to push things in one way or another way, but there's instances in which Don and I don't agree, not in a malicious way, but we certainly will probably vote differently on certain things. And in the current circumstances where Don and I are the only board members, that means that the board's vote becomes null, and then everybody else's vote becomes very important. Not that it wasn't important before that. So I hope that answers your question. It's extremely important to be involved in the process. If you want to be involved in the process, you want to be involved in Dexio protocol beyond being just a community member and whatever ways you're wanting to be involved, this is a very clear and clinical way to be involved in the processes. I think that's it. Is that it for the questions? Do I have no more questions? Somebody said, "What is a booty?" A booty is your backside, man. It's your butt. That's what a booty is. Just in case. Which profile of the person who will manage the Dexy zone? Which profile of the person who will manage the Dexy zone? What exactly do you expect the person who owns the Dexy zone to do? Well, the Dexy zone is a geofenced area that is that the ownership of is represented by an NFT. So if you own that NFT, you own that NFT and you can sell it, do whatever you want with it. But in order to operate that Dexy zone, you have to stake a minimum of 20,000. You have to be the Dexy zone NFT owner. You have to stake a minimum of 20,000 Dexy. That the amount of Dexy you have to stake will depend on the zone and be determined by the DexiDAO, so the DexiGov holders and voters. And you have to be a member in good standing of the Dexy DAO, which means owning DexiGov and voting in the DexiGov and the DexiDAO governance votes. And you have to be a good operator. So the operators are going to get a percentage of the crypto assets being collected and redeemed in their particular Dexy zone, but they're also going to be awarded a portion of a pool that will be generated through the other activities in the zone, including the collection of other non-blockchain bounties and then the business voucher program. So the Dexy zone operators themselves are going to have a vested interest in making sure that the other operators are actually pulling their weight, right? And if you're not pulling your weight, if you're not operating your zone and you're not encouraging the growth and development of that business, the other operators are going to look, they're not going to look very highly on you. They're going to see that you are not pulling your weight and they're going to vote you out. So that's how that's going to work. The pool that people are earning from as it relates to the non-blockchain assets, actually NFTs, and then also the business voucher program, anything that's not directly crypto related inside of the zone, that pool will be, distributed to the Dexy zone operators, and the other operators are not going to be very happy if you're an operator and you're not doing anything to benefit the pool. So they're going to vote you out. That's how that's going to work. So you get your Dexy. If you get voted out, you get your Dexy back. You still own your NFT. You can sell it to somebody else, but you can't operate your zone if the other operators don't want you in there doing that. And there will be, quarterly, probably, maybe semi-annually, there will be votes on confidence of the Dexy zone operators. So you have to do your job. And you also have to obviously be in good standing with the other operators and with the Dexy Gov and Dexy Protocol Incorporated and the board of directors and all that stuff. So, okay, let's see if there's any more questions. After being the managers of Dexy Zone, we will have to go after stores and businesses that want to do marketing to make promotions available via Dexy Zone, right? Yes, that's the idea. So our job will be to develop international partnerships and national, maybe even regional partnerships. And the individual zone operator's job will be to develop local partnerships and also to strategically develop different activities within their zone, maybe through partnerships with schools or partnerships with museums or municipalities or, I don't know, parks and rec. I have no idea at this point, but develop relationships that benefit the overall Dexy zone system. It's meant to be democratized. That's exactly what it's meant to be. Back to the benefits of the governance token. The reason I asked that question was if you looked at Luna, when they went to the vote for the V2, the average community member had no chance to have equal say with the votes than Do Kwon did. Yeah, that's right, because Do Kwon set that up in a way to make sure that he had complete centralized control. If you look at what I already produced and put as a PDF document in the chat, there's 5 million tokens, okay, that are going to be generated as the total supply. 1.25 million, or 25% of those, will be held as the Dexio Protocol Incorporated board vote. So again, Don and I are the only members of that board, but that board will have more members as the equity investment into Dexio Protocol Incorporated happens. People will get seats on the board, and the seats on that board will be in part determined by votes of the DexiDAO, who is voted on by DexiGov owners, right? So you'll have a say in who those board members are. You'll have a say in who the leadership in that board is, who the chairman of the board is, and so on. And all of that will be governed through the DAO. So this is important because I'm aware of what Do Kwon did, as well as other DAOs, and we are setting this up intentionally to prevent bad actors from taking over, but also to democratize the process by which we elect leadership and have these votes. So Don and I each are awarded 25%, 0.675 million, 675,000 DexiGov tokens at launch as owners. And so, yes, the board plus Don and I's vote is 50% of the vote currently with the total supply. That's true. And we are the only members of the board. So if Don and I agree, 50% of the vote, we just got to get one person to vote with us. But 10% of the total supply can be minted annually, and that is distributed by vote of the DexiDAO, meaning that over time, Don and I's direct control of that DAO will dilute, right? There'll be more DexiGov tokens. Those will be distributed through whatever mechanism the DexiDAO decides to distribute them, either selling them or awarding them to the DexiZone operators or whatever it is that the DexiDAO chooses to do with that. And Don and I's ownership of, or at least equity stake in the DexiDAO will become diluted over time. That's on purpose, right? Because as the whole system develops, we want our the centralization of us owning that to diminish, right? To dilute. That's set up that way on purpose. So if that isn't clear in that document, I am making that clear now. The purpose of that is so that over time we have less and less and less direct control, not more and more and more direct control, right? We're going from being somewhat centralized in not completely, because like I said, it's only 50% control, so we still need people to vote with us, but and we could disagree, which does happen. So it's not one person, it's Don and I, right? And we have to agree on things even to get that 50% at this initial thing. But over time, that holding will become less and less and less and less a percentage of the total vote. This is democratization, people. This is how you democratize a centralized system. And I set it up this way very much with the Luna thing in mind, actually. So thank you. Do we know how big DexiZones will be? No. So there are some DexiZones that are going to be distributed to individuals that we have made deals with to give DexiZones to. Guys from Scrub are getting some DexiZones, and some other people are too. There is a group of people who have been whitelisted for the initial DexiZone sale, the initial DexiZone auction, who were whitelisted as a part of the Dexy V2 pre-sale process, and you people know who you are. In order to bid in the initial auction, you will have to have been on that whitelist or get added to it through some other process later on. And you will also have to be a DexiGov owner, and so a member in good standing of the DexiDAO. Those DexiZones, the actual zones themselves, will be determined by the DexiDAO. So the geofenced areas that are allocated to those NFTs and the initial auction price of them, as well as the required staked Dexy V2, will be determined by the Dexy DAO. This is what democratization is, people. We are democratizing this entire process through the DAO. I don't know exactly what those are going to look like. I have some idea, and certainly we could sell very large Dexy zones and then allow those very large Dexy, like, you know, a whole province or state, and then those people could, you know, create Dexy, you know, sub Dexy zones underneath them that operate within their larger Dexy zone. That's definitely a possibility, and we will look at that. You know, and certainly as we bring on equity partners in Dexio Protocol Incorporated, they'll be interested in different aspects of that too, and obviously have a say in it as members of the board and owners of DexiGov. But again, this is all a process that will have to be done through this democratized system. So it's not something I can say for sure, but the Dexy zones will probably be mostly localized to cities or portions of cities, depending on the population of those cities, or, like I said, be much larger areas that are then sublet down into smaller zones from there. Okay. Excuse me. I'm not sure if there's any more questions. This is run for 50 minutes, though. Well, for 45 minutes because I was 5 minutes late. Yeah, haha, juicy. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I hope I answered your questions, Jim. I appreciate the interest and focus on DexiZones, and I hope that I've made that more clear. There'll be more documentation about that, and of course, you know, it's an ever evolving and developing idea, so we'll continue to work on that as we push it out and push forward with it. So if there's nothing else, if there's no other questions, I would like to thank everybody who was on the live stream today. I know this was kind of impromptu, so we appreciate everybody being here today. And I definitely want to emphasize how amazing it is to be where we are now after 16 months of very hard work. Dexy Hunter's out, Dexy Dragons is coming, the NFT Emporium has been rebuilt and is beautiful. Dexy Knights is in full operation and running very well. We have migrated to Polygon through some hurdles, and we are set up to be multi-chained, as we have discussed before. Dexio Protocol is in a very good position right now to do very well despite the bear market. And I want you guys to know that we are going to continue to work very hard on this and continue to grow this project and this business. So thank you guys for being here today. And back to hurricane prep. Yeah, you must be in the Caribbean, brother. We have a friend who may have to leave because he's right in the hurricane's path. So hopefully, yes, definitely stay safe. And I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. And until next time, bye.